That, John?
Joe, when you take a look around the United Center here in Chicago, you cannot help but feel that you are in the middle of a giant television studio. We have lights by the thousands, cameras by the hundreds, and media from all over the world covering it. Dealing with the media on behalf of the president is the job of Scranton native Barry Toiv. Barry was recently named Deputy Press Secretary to the President. At the convention this week, he has been working with his former boss, Chief of Staff Leon Panetta. After this week, however, it's back to the White House. Now, when it comes to the media and political conventions, the parties do their best, both Republican and Democrat, to control the setting. We spoke with two of ABC's political correspondents to find out what that means to the future of network involvement here. ABC News correspondent Jeff Greenfield is a true political veteran, as is his colleague Sam Donaldson. They both recognize that this may very well be the last network-carried political convention.
I'm pretty sure that if we approach the year 2000 and the conventions are as predictable as they are now, you will not see even an hour a night.
That is because the conventions have been turned into made-for-TV productions.
Gary Smith, who's doing this, is a Hollywood producer. He's done the 4 last Tony Awards programs. He's done the last 3 conventions.
The conventions are so tightly scripted because history has taught the parties, if you make news, you lose.
If you go back in history and think of exciting conventions versus boring conventions, with possibly the exception of the 1952 Eisenhower-Taft fight at the Republican convention, the exciting conventions produce candidates who lose.
The parties have figured out that they still have business to conduct, but it's like making sausage. You don't want to conduct it in public view.
Made-for-television productions have props. Greenfield points to the microphones and the computers at the individual delegations as items which once played important roles at the conventions, but not anymore.
Are they going to make a motion, a point of order? Are they going to challenge the credentials of the Texas delegation? Are they going to demand a minority plank on welfare reform? No. So it's kind of like the Main Street in Disney World. It looks like a convention, but it ain't what we remember conventions as.
And some real news coming out of the convention today. Bob Casey Jr., candidate for State Auditor General, fired his campaign manager, John Saylor, after Saylor apparently made some disparaging remarks about U.S. Senator Rick Santorum. In a television interview, Saylor was quoted as saying that Santorum was, in his words, one notch below a Nazi. Bob Casey Jr. was busy today trying to call Rick Santorum to apologize for the remarks given by his now former campaign manager. Coming up tonight on News Watch 16 at 6, we'll talk with Bob Casey Jr. and we'll introduce you to some of the Pennsylvania delegation who were here back in 1968. John Kosich, News Watch 16 at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. Jill?
Okay, thanks a lot, John.